All right, let's talk about malware. It's this word we hear constantly, this kind of spooky, invisible threat that's always lurking out there. But what is it really? And, the most important question, how do we actually fight back? So today we're going to dive in and figure out how to build a really solid defense for our digital lives.
Come on, we've all been there, right? You get an email or a message, you click the link, and for a split second, your stomach just drops. That uh-oh moment, that feeling of uncertainty, well, that's exactly where the danger begins. And believe me, it happens to everyone.
Okay, so if we're going to protect ourselves, we first have to understand what we're actually up against. It's time to define the enemy. So let's pull back the curtain on this invisible threat.
Now here's something people get mixed up all the time. Malware and intrusion. They are not the same thing. Think of it like this. Malware is the crowbar, and intrusion is the actual act of prying open the door and walking into the house. One is the tool, the other is the action. And a lot of the time, malware is the tool that makes the intrusion possible.
So if we want the official, government-level definition, we look to the folks at NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And the most important word in their entire definition is covertly. It means it's designed to be sneaky. It gets into your system without you knowing. And its entire purpose, its intent, is to do bad things, destroy data, steal your information, or just completely take over. It's all about that malicious intent.
So how does this nasty stuff actually find its way onto our devices? Well, the scary part is it's through things we do every single day. You might visit a website that's been compromised, or you get one of those super convincing phishing emails. Heck, it can be as simple as finding a USB drive in a coffee shop and plugging it into your laptop out of curiosity. All of those are potential open doors.
All right, so now that we know what malware is and how it gets in, let's meet the most wanted. Think of this as the digital world's rogues gallery, a lineup of some of the most famous and dangerous types of malware out there.
First up is the one you've probably seen in the news, ransomware. I call this one the digital kidnapper. It gets onto your system, grabs all of your important files, encrypts them so you can't open them, and then flashes a message demanding a ransom to get them back. And it is no joke. The WannaCry attack back in 2017 literally crippled hospitals and huge businesses all over the world. It's devastating.
Next, we have spyware. This one is, well, it's just plain creepy. This is the silent observer. It's designed to hide on your system and just quietly collect information. We're talking passwords, your browsing habits. It can even listen in through your device's microphone. If you've ever read about the infamous Pegasus spyware, yeah, that's what we're talking about. It can turn your own phone into a 24/7 surveillance device.
Then we've got the master of deception, the Trojan horse. And yes, it's named after exactly what you think. It shows up disguised as something you actually want, a free video game, a useful little utility. You willingly download it, you open the gates, and once it's inside, it unleashes its real malicious purpose. The Zeus Trojan was a classic example, fooling millions into giving up their online banking credentials.
And finally, there's the worm. What makes a worm so incredibly dangerous is that it can spread all by itself. It doesn't need a human to click anything. Once it infects one computer on a network, it starts replicating and spreading to every other machine it can reach. One computer can become 1,000 infected computers in just a few minutes. The famous Stuxnet worm showed just how real this is. It actually caused physical damage to industrial equipment.
Okay, enough with the bad guys. That's a scary list, I know. But knowing the threat is half the battle. The other half is building a defense so strong that they can't get in. So let's talk strategy. Let's build your digital fortress.
Now, the first thing you have to understand is that there is no single magic bullet. You can't just buy one piece of software and call it a day. A real, modern defense is a whole system. It's about layers. You have protection on your actual devices, you have systems watching the network for suspicious traffic, and you have analytics pulling it all together to spot patterns. Everything has to work together.
So how do we build this layered system? Well, we can break it down into 3 basic pillars. First, be smart. This is all about good habits and policies. Simple things like not letting everyone be an administrator on their computer and having rules against installing unauthorized software. Second, get protected. This is the technology part. You need good, centrally managed antivirus and anti-spyware on everything. And third, stay vigilant. This is the human element. It means actually installing those security updates when they pop up and paying attention to security warnings. And when we talk about that get protected pillar, what should that software actually be doing? It's not just one thing. Good protection is constantly scanning the most critical parts of your computer. It's watching all the activity in real time, looking for anything that seems off.
It has a massive database of known malware that it's always checking against. And, maybe most importantly, it has a plan for when it finds something, it knows how to disinfect, quarantine, or just delete the threat. So let's zoom in on one of those essential layers. We're going to talk about the outer wall of our fortress, the very first line of defense you have against attacks from the internet, the firewall. Honestly, the absolute easiest way to think about a firewall is like a bouncer at a nightclub, right? He stands at the only door. He checks everyone's ID. If your name's on the list, you can come in. If it's not, or you look suspicious, you are not getting past him. It's that simple. That's a firewall in a nutshell. And that bouncer analogy works perfectly for a firewall's main jobs. First, it's the single point of entry. All traffic in or out has to go through it for inspection. Second, it only lets in the right people. It follows a strict set of rules, a security policy, to decide what's authorized. And third, the bouncer himself has to be tough. The firewall has to be an incredibly secure, hardened system so that it can't be attacked itself.
But, and this is so important to remember, a firewall isn't a silver bullet. The bouncer at the front door can't stop someone who sneaks in through an open window in the back. So if you bring an infected USB drive into the office, you've just bypassed the firewall completely. It also can't do anything about a threat that's already inside your network. This is exactly why we need layers. The bouncer is just one part of the security team.
So we've defined the threat, we've outlined our defenses. We're good, right? Well, not exactly. The thing about cybersecurity is that the fight is never over. The bad guys are always working on new ways to get in. And these new threats are getting really sophisticated. We're seeing more fileless malware, which doesn't even install on your hard drive. It lives in your computer's active memory, its RAM, making it almost invisible to traditional antivirus scanners. Then there's clickless malware, where you don't even have to make a mistake. An attacker can exploit a vulnerability in an app and infect you just by sending you a message. And of course, with every smart TV, speaker, and camera we bring into our homes, we're creating new targets for attackers.
So if you only take one single thing away from all of this, please let it be this. Effective protection is not a set it and forget it kind of deal. It just isn't. It is a continuous process. You have to keep your software updated, you have to keep an eye on your systems, and you have to stay aware of what the new threats are. It's a cycle.
Which really brings us to our final thought. You can build the strongest digital fortress with the highest walls and the best technology. But a fortress is only as strong as the people watching the gates. Constant vigilance, that's the real price of security in our digital world. So let me ask you, your fortress is built, but are you watching the gates?